We should be good. The trailer's done.
Can you hear me?
I can hear you perfectly fine, but let me hype you first. Andy, if you're still in here, thank you for waiting. We appreciate you. The flip-flop guy. Go check him out, everybody. Order your meat. Put his meat in your mouth. Special episode today. I want to shout out the sponsors. Shout out to Sig Sauer. Big shout out to Sig. Missed you guys at SHOT. Looking forward to connecting with Sig, guys. Go buy some Sig products. If you haven't checked out their new rifle, that's 6.8. Oh, fuck, that thing's crazy. Go check it out. I want to give a special shout out to Secure It. As this place starts to get finished, the bar in here is done. There's a lot of cool shit. Thank you to Secure It for all their support. Shout out to 221B Tactical for helping with the bar, and Dana White's Howler Head. If you haven't checked out Howler Head, it's the official booze of this place. So appreciate you guys. Appreciate all the sponsors. Thank you to Right On, Pulsar, and of course Blackwater Ammunition. Special shout out to them. I missed them at SHOT Show, so thank you to them. And of course Kenzie's Optics and everybody else. I hope everybody's getting healthy. I know everyone had the SHOT Show SCI AIDS. Get healthy. I got a special guest today. I've been dying to have him in. I'm actually it's the first time I'm probably overwhelmed because I don't even know where to begin. I have one of my top secret better friends in the business, and I keep him tight to the vest because he's very well versed in an area that I am not, which is important. So you have to have that, right? As a man, when you're not good at something, it's nice to have another guy that is. We have the Chief Conservation Officer. Can I call you that? Director
Chief Hunting Officer.
Chief Hunting Officer. But can I call you Director of Conservation?
Yeah.
Brenden Burns from KUIU. What's going on?
Man, been a long time coming.
Way overdue.
Yeah, I mean,
way overdue.
I was flying down here.
I'm overstimulated.
Yeah, I was flying down here when COVID hit. I mean, it was like a Friday when they locked everything down. You and I were on the phone for the whole time, and it was like, when it went down, when everything was shutting down, I was on my way, and it was like, I guess I'm not coming.
I thought it was like surreal when you walked in the door this morning. I was like, oh my God, I was like, this is gonna happen. We're gonna make it happen. It's magical. Listen, it's been a long time coming. I want you to, for the audience, not necessarily for me, take me through your hunting journey and how you got to the, give us your version and how you got to this point, because I know what conservation means to you, and I want to get to some of the projects that you've worked on because they are fucking amazing, and I know you're a humble guy. So just take us through and set the stage for that.
Yeah, I mean, I've been hunting my whole life. I mean, that's like I wrestled in high school and college, but other than that, my hunting has been my life. I was fortunate enough to be involved in, a couple companies before KUIU, and Jason and I got really close when he owned Sitka, and then I was employee number 1 at KUIU, came on, and just like anything, we're 11 years old now, so when you start, you kind of do everything, and I was the first employee, first person he asked to join, and when you get asked to join a startup that is going to be successful, like it was never like, I wonder if this is going to work, like this is one of those opportunities you got to jump on. And then, man, it's just been growing and growing. And my roles have changed over there. Obviously, I was started the guide and outfitter program for our company, which is the biggest in the industry, I would guess, and especially in apparel. And then transitioned into industry relations. And then, was a co-CEO for a couple of years. And then kind of really crafted my own role, which is Chief Hunting Officer and Director of Conservation, which means I only do the shit I want to do, which is awesome. Like, it's been a long time, and just I thought I really want a job that sounds as cool as it really is, and it's a pretty cool job.
I think so. And you bring up Jason, and I had the luxury of crossing paths with him at one point in his life, and he is sorely missed. And he was a great guy from what I saw and heard, and I didn't know him like you did, but I was fortunate. And I think back to that time, it was almost serendipitous in some way that I got to cross paths with him. He had done Mark Bell's podcast, and we were fortunate to connect, and then you and I were a byproduct of that friendship and Don's friendship and just mentorship. And it was really interesting how you and I came together in that. And I think, what is important in a business is having an owner that almost puts you at ease, like you said, almost makes it look easy, like it's not going to fail. And I could see what you're saying when you said that line, like it wasn't going to fit. He just had that gift a little way about him. Like I had met him very briefly, but kind of like how my interaction with Evan went at Black Rifle. It was an interaction where it was like very genuine, spent some time listening to what I had to say. I listened to some things he had to say, believe it or not. I paid attention, and I felt like this was a guy who actually gave a shit about what was being said, and then took the time, and this is what's really big with me, to do the little things after, like send me a little care package, thank you. That stuff is so lost today, Burnsy. It's so lost.
It is, yeah. I mean, like it is the little things and letting people, like especially when you just don't know what type of where those relationships are going to.
You never know who's in the room.
You never know who's in the room.
You never know who's in the room.
And it's like the guys that they're like that kind of big time you or if they think they can get something out of you, but ultimately if you just take care of everybody, and I mean he was a great dude. I mean we had some amazing times. It's one of those deals, like he's not here anymore, but I miss the fun stuff. Like we, spent 300 days backpacking, hunting sheep all over. I mean, like that's the stuff you miss. But also you're very fortunate to have spent time with somebody like that.
Yeah.
I feel bad. A lot of people didn't get to meet him. So, life goes on, and you look back on that cool stuff. But yeah, it was funny how we met, and then you and I turned into,
lifelong friends.
Ansel Adams at the show the first time, walking around with Don, and everybody looks at you like you're a professional photographer.
Oh God. That's the biggest misconception about walking around a show with Don, right? Like that it's all like, listen, when you see us walking a show with Don, you end up being a glorified cameraman. Yeah. It's great to walk around with Don and get his hot take on some stuff, because that's part of the relationship. And when you work with these guys and you're involved in the brands, it's nice to have some of the thought leaders in the industry around them. But you become a cameraman in the end.
That's exactly it.
That's really what it is.
Yeah.
I wanna touch on with you, because I know how you are when you look out there into the hunting space. And it's a space I'm not well versed in. What do you see?
It's changed a bunch. I mean, like obviously KUIU, I don't want to dive into like the brand.
No, but it's an evolving industry.
Yeah. So I mean, we're the first consumer direct hunting brand. I mean, like when we started in 2010, people were like, "You're going to fail. It's impossible."
Right.
Like we don't have any retailers whatsoever. We're built like straight, like we're built from customer interaction. We sell direct. We cut out the middleman, and that's like. Everybody nowadays is like, well, duh. Well, in 2010, that was a big deal. Like people were like, you're nuts. It's going to fail. Come from a different business that was all retail based. And so I see the transition right now is like what we did. It really took off in about 12 and 13. But ultimately, like the business it's totally changing. And like even, I don't know if you're referring to like shows and stuff, but it's, in hunting, the experience stuff is changing, like the whole outward facing booths and that like everybody wants interaction, and hunting's a little bit different than a lot of these other businesses. And it's not a spectator sport.
Right.
People are trying to turn it into a spectator sport, but ultimately you're trying to empower people to believe that they can do what you're doing and to help them along the way. I mean, nobody wants to watch me do something. They do. You show people stuff so that they can be inspired and go like, oh man, that could be, if I worked out this hard, if I shot my bow, and if I knew how to do this, then that could be me. Like, of course, that stuff's awesome. But I think people really, they want it. It's a hands-on activity. Like you don't want to watch. It's not like watching Tiger Woods golf or watching, somebody play basketball. Like it's a participation sport. And so that's where it's funny right now, because lots of people are like, oh, these guys want to watch me doing it. It's like, no, they don't.
Right. It's a hard sport. I don't want to say a hard sport to sell. I think that's bad language. It's a lifestyle. Yeah. That's the misnomer, is people try to package it like a sport, and I think there's a lot of people right now, and we see it posting videos of them drawing bows in the backyard, and everybody's getting into the game. And that's a good thing in some ways. And in some ways, it's interesting to see who comes out of the woodwork and jumps on the outdoors bandwagon. Yeah. You see that. And you just hope that, some people truly pursue it, because the end game is to ultimately raise funds for what you do and what's important to you, which is conservation.
Yeah. I mean, it's one of those things where you have to protect. Like I got a 9-year-old son who's absolutely obsessed, like I was when I was a kid, and so I want you want to give back. You know, there's a lot of people don't understand that if it wasn't for hunters, there would be no animals. And there really wouldn't. I mean, they were literally hunted to extinction by the turn of the century, basically everywhere. And, you know, hunters through, you know, projects and, you know, the North American model have brought them back. And so it's like, you got to give back. I mean, I love hunting and I'm unapologetic about hunting animals and killing animals, all that kind of stuff. But you also have to give back, and you have to, you know, it's one of those things where these projects that we do are, you know, making it better for everybody down the road. And, you know, it's not, conservation is one of those things where it's like a phrase that people use, but they don't really know what it means. Like it's actually a hands-on deal. Like you can't just say, oh, I bought my license for the year, I'm a conservationist, or, you know, I donated to the, you know, some organization, I'm a conservationist. Like it's a hands-on deal if you're going to do it right.
Do you look at other countries to see who's getting it right? Have you done a deep dive and analysis into what other?
North America's got it right.
Got it right?
Yeah, North America.
We do it well.
The North American model is, you know, no commercialized wildlife. It's basically made for the people. I mean, you know, if you look up the North American model, I mean, it's like, yeah, I mean, like ultimately you do what's best for the animal, no matter what. The number one thing is what you doing what's best for the animal, the herds, you know, whether it's wild sheep or elk. I mean, like I said, the management, it's being done right now. There's obviously tons of stuff that can be done better, and there's, you know, it's ever changing. I mean, like you're talking about people that pick up a bow. I mean, the amount of new hunters has definitely put a squeeze on, you know, everybody wants to talk about public land and this and that. I mean, there's places that are just like basically just over hunted or just too much pressure. And so it's, you know, it's a complicated issue. It really is. Like
it's an insane issue, and it's something you've made me aware of by sending me videos and educating me a little bit on it, because I came into it totally green, not really understanding the space because I came from the tactical side. But watching some of the stuff that you've been able to do in some of the projects you're involved in, it's something you're passionate about. Otherwise, you wouldn't get on a plane and travel and talk about it the way that you do. And I think it's important. I think somebody has to be a leader in that space. And I see you really carving out a path, and not everybody doing it in as a transparent way as you are. And I think that's really important. And what people don't understand is the importance of conservation. Otherwise, we're not going to have some of these animals left to hunt.
Yeah, I started this thing called Conservation Direct, and it came from me looking at, you know, like everybody wants to give money, but it's like, man, you got to follow that money and see where it goes. And there's a lot of places that give money, and there's lots of overhead and all that stuff. So I started this Conservation Direct, which is single project-based conservation. Obviously, it comes through the company, and private donors are, you know, customer donors. It's company and customer funded, and basically, it's basically a organized action. It's not an organization. The one thing I did not want it to have, it does not have a bank account. Number one, it's like if you follow the money, that's where all the dirty shit happens.
Oh, it's filthy.
You know? So there's no bank account. We get funds. We're a for-profit business. So I'm not trying to raise money. I'm trying to spend money. I want to do projects that show our customers that we give a shit. And we're doing some awesome projects. I mean, in the last 3 years, we've moved 150 sheep, 9 different transplants, nine new sheep herds or augmented sheep herds. We've done guzzler projects here in Nevada. We've got, you know, like we're doing real projects. So ultimately it's like, you got to follow the money. And so that what I set up is it's totally transparent. Whatever the nearest small 501c3 is, that acts as the bank. We pick a project. I acquire the funding, whether it's through private donors or the company. Mostly it's the company. And then we go do the project, and we walk on to the next one. We're not building a war chest. We're not trying to have banquets. We're not trying to throw parties. We're not trying to have kegs of beer and everybody gets together. We just want to do projects and then walk away and go do another one. And it's totally unique in the space, because we're not, like I said, I'm not trying to build an organization. I got a job.
Yeah, we try, you and I, that's why we're smirking. We try to educate people that come along and they say, well, I have a nonprofit. You get that a lot. And you're like, okay, tell me more. You know, you hear a little bit about it, but people don't realize we've been in the business long enough. All these profits sooner or later get a smudge if they're not run properly. And I think on a project by project basis, that's a much better way to go. A lot of these people, like you said, that develop war chests, everything else, sooner or later they become greedy, and you find out someone has a high salary or someone's been paying themselves a lot, and then in a couple of years they're out of the business. Like, you don't see them anymore. They disappear because they blew up the org or whatever happened, and they go around and they just ask everybody for a meeting, but they really don't know what they do themselves when you start talking to them. It's not thought out.
Yeah, the overhead is we have no overhead, no marketing, no nothing. I've never spent a dime. Nobody's ever got paid. if we send people on these projects like me, like, rental cars, hotels, camera guys, it's just all marketing expenses.
Yeah.
That we were our for-profit business. We make a lot of money. We want to spend money and do great things. Like I'm not gonna tell you that paying a camera guy or staying at hotels or taking people out to dinner, like that's not part of our conservation wing. That's part of what we do at marketing,
right? Because
we're telling that story. But ultimately, the conservation wing that we do is like all 100% of the money goes directly to the project. That's it. That's why I pick whatever the local 501c3 is. We give them the money straight. Like I just took over the entire sheep transplant budget for the state of Arizona for 2021. It's never been done before. It was actually pretty simple. I called up a game warden, got in touch with me, asked if I want to be a part of a project in Arizona, got on the horn with the number one guy and number two guy in Arizona and said, hey, I want to take over the entire state budget. And they couldn't even believe it. It's so hard to get money out of nonprofits and orgs, and you got to, funding, grant writing, all this kind of bullshit. I was just like, how about we just pay the whole thing? Like we wrote him a check for $164,000.
Amazing.
Loophole, Wild Society, 2 other companies came in with us, KUIU, and we just covered the entire budget for the state. And it's like that made a huge impact, because not only is that $164,000 that's not going to go from the state budget to sheep, that's $164,000 they can spend on the other 2,000 species, the little weird stuff that nobody cares about, and little projects that nobody cares about. So it's like, it's a direct impact. And for me, it's just fun because I want to see, like, I think people want to see where their money goes. Where is your money going? Like, follow the money. And like, you can say hunter conservation. I mean, it's a great hashtag and it's probably a tattoo on Instagram, but ultimately it's like, what does that actually mean? Like, are you actually doing anything?
It's amazing to me, Burnsy, and I say it very openly on this show, how many people show up in the industry and they use either the Second Amendment or conservation or some of these things as like hot button issues. And I had a friend, it wasn't me that said it, who said to me, how many times has that person stood on a courthouse steps? How many times have they donated their time? How many times have they written a check? Did they volunteer their legal services? And the issue I have sometimes with some of these orgs and some of these people is you look at them and you're like, you're just trying to sell mugs and hats.
Yeah.
Like it's and then it makes it so much harder for when you come along, or somebody who's trying to legitimately fund projects and do stuff and actually make change and talk about it. It makes it so much harder because it gets drowned out in the noise of ambassadors and the noise of that bullshit.
I always say the same thing, like awareness has overtaken action. Like, I would say 10 years, people, they need to be made aware, but ultimately, like, dude, we're all aware. You need to do conservation. No one, like, you're not all these people, you're not the voice of this movement. Like, it's overtaken it. Like, everyone is aware. Now it's time to go do something.
You know what the best term that's come out, like, everybody says ambassador. I feel like the best term that's come out in the last couple of years is, I meet people now, they introduce themselves, they say, I'm an advocate. What the fuck is that? I don't even know what that is.
It's funny because I don't
and
know
they literally want you to pay it like I'm an advocate.
Yeah. What do you do? Like, I want to see the results. What do you do? And there's some great people. There's again, I'm not the only one doing great things. There's some great people out there doing stuff. Second Amendment stuff, I'm sure it's the same way. Like, every little, hunting, I'm sure tactical, they're all the same thing. There's like the guys who know, and then there's everybody else who's pretending. And there's a good chunk of those guys, gals who are, however it is. And then there's the influencer crowd, and it's just a funny thing. But every space is the same.
Yeah. It's interesting the last couple of years, though, how it's kind of shaped out now. And you have to fight in that crowd of people to some degree, to be heard or to have, but you do it. The point I'm making is you do it with almost no social media.
Yeah. I mean,
you're my hero for that.
Yeah. I every time I look and see how many followers is on there, I go like,
zero posts, right? You're still at zero posts. That's for everybody out there listening. It's the Ram hustle.
Yeah.
Amazing.
Yeah. I got an Instagram account because nobody sends photos in anymore. Like, people, they send you a link. It's impossible just to check it. But no, I feel like the biggest flex in 2022 or
no posts
is not having to do. I don't need to do it. I don't really, I've always been
I still think you should do one. That's been my thing. I think you should have one on there.
Yeah, just maybe someday I'll hit it.
You're close. Like, you're almost like you're thinking about it. You're like, one, maybe.
Yeah, I just, even with the projects we're doing, the big hunts that I do, like, everything I do is for the company right now. And I also, like, I just don't like to tell people what I'm doing until after it's done. I mean, there's just far too much like, hey, let me tell you what I'm gonna do.
Yeah.
Like, why don't you just go do it?
Posturing.
Like, you know, and it's the same, like as we're talking about conservation or advocacy or anything. There's a quote that I use all the time. It's like, it's far easier to fool someone than to convince them that they've been fooled.
Oh my
like
God.
You can take people's money, but to convince them that somebody took their money is far harder. Like
so
they
true.
don't want to believe when they've been scammed.
It's so true.
I mean, it's so hard to convince somebody like, dude, you gave money to something and you're paying a guy's big salary and they actually didn't do shit. And to convince them that they've been taken is way harder than to actually take the money.
Oh, it's so true. So true. It's so true. It's like, yeah, it's hard. Yeah, God, especially with guys. Guys are more apt to stay in a bad money relationship than women, and women are more likely to stay in a bad physical relationship than men are. It's so interesting. It's true. Oh my God, I can't believe you said that. But I think
same with social media. Like
right.
people are, you know, they're convincing you that there's something that they're not, and especially when you know what they really are, or who they really are. And there's some good people out there that enjoy that stuff. But like,
I just get a lot of DMs, Burnsy, that are like, "Are you okay with my posts? Like, is everything okay?" Because I just put like random shit up there, and everybody's like, "Nah, it's just like it's totally random." I'm like, I'm not thinking about it. My '80s nostalgia and my love for shitty, scary movies and practical effects. It's a little bit of a pun on Alec Baldwin, but yeah.
Well, you know, like today's with. You know, I think there's a couple things going on. I'm sure it's the same in your spaces in hunting. There's people practicing the craft, let's just say the craft of hunting at a high level. And then there's a lot of people that are practicing the craft of popularity within that space, which is also very hard. It's just not real.
It's a currency.
Yeah, but it's like, you know, again, it's just one of those things. I just don't participate in that. I like to hunt too much.
Yeah. When you chase the popularity game, it's a currency that is only useful to those that think you're popular. And that's what's hard about it. Like, it might be great maybe taking a picture at a trade show or something like that, or people might know who you are, and I think that's great. You know, I was lucky enough to be one of the more outspoken CEOs in the industry initially, so people kind of knew who I was in a good and bad way, and they didn't like that, and the orgs didn't like that, but I didn't care. So ultimately I knew I'd have to build my own island in here and kind of...
It's a nice island, by the way.
You like it in here, don't you?
It's awesome.
Yeah. Does it come a long way from the car?
It's unbelievable.
We were talking about it, and you were right there with me.
Yeah, I've never been in a place like this. Like, I've done a lot of podcasts, but I mean, like, none of them like this.
Come a long way from the car. It gets me emotional. It's a long journey to here.
Yeah, it's just this thing's. I got some shop envy.
But I think the industry needed this, and I think I mean I can't do for hunting. I think it's coming for hunting. I think there's going to be some people that are outspoken and having good conversations. I think they were close with some of the guys that are doing it, but I don't think anybody's broken through yet in a meaningful way. I just wanted to do a show where I brought everybody on from the industry, and we built a platform together that was something that we could sit hand in hand with other people from great industries. I felt like too many of the firearm-centric, hunting-centric shows or things that were out there were too focused on, hey, I went and I hunted something crazy, or look at this gun, or the rail weighs 2 pounds less. It was all too hokey and very QVC, and I was like, this is fucking lame. Like, why don't we just have a place people can go have a conversation? That's all I ever wanted.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's coming around. You know, it's funny. I think it kind of starts with comedy too. Like, I mean, you see some of these meme pages. And they're so accurate that
the gifts
like,
that keeps on.
I know, and people and they get them right. So it gives me hope when you see somebody that's like, man, they freaking nailed that. Like, you know, and it's funny stuff.
I want to ask you, because you're a critical guy.
It's a fair statement.
Yeah, critical guy. Everyone will laugh that heard that. Critical. What's a real hunter?
I mean, there's a lot of, you know, it's funny. It depends on what you like. I mean, it depends, like, what's a real hunter? Somebody who's out there actually practicing the craft. It is not what people see. I mean, like, there's a lot to it to be a good hunter, to be a really good hunter. There's a lot to it. I mean, you have to train. You have to be, and there's some the one thing people don't like to admit is that there's some God-given ability to it. Like,
of course,
there are people, like, I was just born a little bit sneakier than some other people, and that's just like, some people have it, some people don't. I have a lot of buddies that I hunt with, some of my hunting partner. Like, I hunt alone, I would say the majority of the time, but like, I surround myself with some absolute savages, like some guys that are world-class hunters, and we're built different. That's like, it's a genetic thing. You're just a little bit sneakier. You understand, you can see better. And it depends on what you like to do. Like elk, sheep, and big bears are my passion. Like I love hunting giant bears. I love going sheep hunting. I mean, that's something that I have a lot of opportunity to do. It's an expensive hobby, but I'm fortunate to be able to do it. And then hunting big elk that's my thing. That's where I cut my teeth. That's what I love to do every year. So that's what I specialize in. So it's always funny when people are like, oh, who's the best hunter at this? Like, man, I'm really good at what I do. And I know some guys that are really good at what they do. And there's a lot of guys trying to be something that they're not. But it's like you have to love it. I mean, I was just texting with one of my buddies. We went on a stone sheep hunt this year up in the Yukon, and from the outside, we shot a whole catalog on that trip. I took a camera guy with me. He was my camera. Shout out to my Matt Forsyth, the best cameraman in the business. Woo-hoo. But this was a miserable ass trip. Like when you see the photos, everybody's like, oh, that's amazing, all that stuff. Like we got some of the worst weather you can imagine. We walked 76 miles of mostly up and down, straight vertical. We saw about 13 sheep in 10 days. We ended up killing a couple of big rams. It was a great hunt, but it was miserable. Like it's like a street fight. It's only fun to look back on. Like it actually wasn't fun at the time.
When you're in the shit.
Because it's so hard to do, like to do it right. So when you see these snippets, everybody, and it's like, it's not fun all the time. That's what, like you can't taste the sweet unless you eat the bitter. And you got to go out there and like the harder it is, the more satisfying it is. That's why you can't fake it. You got to go out there and sometimes you just get your ass kicked. And that's the beauty of it. I mean, it's like the horrible weather. I mean, you can't imagine how tired you can get on these things, even though you've trained for it. And, knowing that you can't be picked up. Like my thing is I love unsupported backpack hunts. Unsupported backpack hunt means like you are going in and you're not getting out. Like you have to walk, you're going through, or you're getting picked up somewhere else. But like, there's nobody there to help you. Like you are all relied on yourself. You have to, and again, hopefully you're not, I don't do a lot of those alone, but I've done plenty. I mean, I've done up to 24 days alone. And I did a backpack hunt in the Bob Marshall. I spent 24 days solo hunting sheep, and I was like, yeah, I love that stuff. So it's such a funny thing, especially when we come back around to like social media or whatever. It's like, it's counterintuitive,
right,
to what I like to do and to actually to hunting, because like you can't be connected. I mean, I see ads where guys like, I spend 200 days a year in the wilderness. It's like, dude, you're on Instagram every day. It's not possible. Like it's just flat bullshit. You're not. Like you're totally. You answered 9,000 DMs a week. Like no, that's not true. Like you can
spend 100 days in the backcountry.
Yeah. It's not true. Like you're connected the whole time. Like,
my favorite is the person who posts, "I'm going off grid." I love that. I love that. Doesn't that defeat the whole purpose?
Yeah.
I'm going off grid. I'm going to use that one day. I'm going to just post, "I'm going off grid," then do like 10 stories. It's true. Now, just so everybody understands, I want to talk about this. This man sent me a video once, and if you find on you, I don't want to violate like KUIU copyrights or anything, because I know it's the video's stored at KUIU, right?
What are we talking about?
I want to get to this bear.
Oh,
it's fucking! I want you to tell this story.
It's called The Footsteps of Giants.
The Footsteps of Giants.
It's a video.
So let me hype you for a second. So this man is in like some bushes, and he's hiding. And this bear, I shit you people not listening to this, is the size of a fucking house. The paws are bigger than my waist. And I haven't missed a meal since Reagan was president. It's insane. And you shot this fucking thing with a bow.
Yeah. Giant brown
Take
bear.
me through that.
That's a bucket list thing of, I mean, my whole life. Yeah. I mean, like the brown bear is the largest land predator on the planet, period. Like
terrifying.
Terrifying. Giant. But, to kill one with a bow, I grew up, and it's a cool, I wrote the film actually is about, it's about some of the guys that came before me, like, Fred Bear and, the guys that, everybody forgets now, like history started 9 years ago when Instagram started right now. Right. But ultimately, like 50 years ago, there were guys doing it when nobody gave a shit. Nobody was looking. And so, brown bear has been always one of those things where, I always wanted to kill a giant with my bow. And
this thing was huge.
Oh, it's massive.
Don't be humble for a minute.
It's the 6th biggest bear ever killed with a bow.
Insane.
Top 10 all time, but a massive it was the oldest bear killed in the state of Alaska that year. It's just a absolute giant. I'll send you the picture. You can post it up.
Oh, we'll totally share it. And I'll get Steph to make a clip of it, because it's got to be clipped. Like that segment, this bear, I can't even put it into words, guys. The paws.
Yeah, it was a cool thing. I ran this. We spotted it from a long ways away. I went down. Lance Kronberg was the outfitter and guide with me, and had my camera guy with me too. And we ran down and sat all day on this bear, and we knew it was a monster from miles away. And you know, I mean, to hunt one of these with a gun is really tough, but to with a bow is like it's next level. And I had actually failed. I hunted brown bear in 2003 with a bow and failed. I shot one, had to kill it with a gun, got a little gnarly. And it always it pissed me off. Like I actually wasn't ready for the moment at the time. And it was a fail. Like, and I'll say that, like I was 22 and I just didn't make it happen. So it had bugged me for 15 years. And then we spotted this giant bear and slid down. He was walking along the beach, and these things, you can't even imagine, like they're not scared of anything on the planet. Like this thing, they're just gigantic. I mean,
if these
12 to 1,500 pounds. I mean, we don't know how big it was, but. And yeah, I ran him down on the beach. I ran up and arrowed him at 12 yards. He was dead in 17 seconds. And I arrowed him off the edge of the beach. He was on the bank. Video. I was on the bank. He was on the beach. And after I shot him with my bow, he rolled and actually came up, not after me, but he came up. He ended up crossing in front of me after I shot him 4 yards away, which is twice the distance of me and you, and down in 17 seconds. And yeah, you'll have to take a look at it. Words can't describe it. Even for me, like I was there, it's just amazing that, you know, you have a few times in your life when something like that all comes together, and that's where all the hard work and the skill and the practice and everything else comes together, is to do so, you know. And like, this is a bear far past his prime, like one of the biggest bears ever killed with a bow on the planet. It's amazing. For when you grow up loving to do what I do, that is one of those things you just go, man, that doesn't happen enough in life. The
same time you sent me that clip was around the same time I watched that movie, the modern one where the bear like attacks the people. And it was like a horror, like almost like a Jaws with a bear. Yeah. And I was fucking terrified. I was like, this is crazy. You're like literally in the bushes right in front of the thing. And then you just have a bow and arrow. And if you don't take a good shot, you got to hope you got a good spotter, especially in that situation. If you guys watch the video, it truly is like one of those videos that you can see in your face the genuine sense of like, I can't believe I just did that. Like, I think you say that too, which is crazy. Like, I can't believe that just happened.
Yeah, and it's one of those things where, you know, everybody, I call it conceptual knowledge. Everybody has an idea of what they're going to do if they get in a situation like that. But once you actually do it and you know how you react, like I am glad now I know how I react. And I've done it a couple times since, killed another big grizzly bear with my bow. But everybody has an idea what they're going to do until it, you know, like it's conceptual knowledge until you've actually implemented it. And so to know how you're going to react, because, you know, it like literally time slowed down. I mean, I shot the thing, it came up after me, or came up in my direction. And at the same time it's coming up, and this is seconds, I was going down. My mind was working fast enough to where I was like, he can't smell me. He's coming up. I'm going down. He's not going to see me. And I got, and I don't carry a sidearm when I bear hunt. I actually think it's detrimental to, it's in the back of your head that you've got this backup thing. I trust the guys with me. They've got guns. They got big guns behind me. A rifle's far more accurate. So I don't carry a sidearm. A lot of guys want to go, you know, Yosemite Sam. Yeah. If something goes bad, I don't. I'm gonna trust the guys that are with me, because I feel like in the back of my mind, if I shoot a giant bear and the first thing on my mind is I got to get to my pistol, I'm not taking the time to make sure that I do it right with my bow. So I'm all in on that. Like, I'm all in. I don't have a sidearm, and I'm just going to get out of the way, and those guys are going to take care. Which is why you don't hire the cheap guy when you're going on a big hunt like that. You hire the good guys. But yeah, no, it's those are the kind of that's what we live for, and that's, you know, ultimately, you know, designing gear, you know, at work, and that's what it's all designed for, is to perform in those kind of, you know, to be able to do that.
Where's the bear now?
The bear is not. I'm getting it life size, but it's not done yet. I'm building a huge trophy room in Montana. I haven't hardly mounted anything. You know, everybody thinks that, you know, this big trophy hunters and stuff, like it's all about that. Like, the photos mean more to me than the animals. I love to hunt. I haven't mounted that much stuff. You know, you can stare at those trophies and spend a bunch of money to do that, or you can go do more cool shit. And then I'm building a big trophy room that's going to be pretty cool. But ultimately, I haven't hardly, you know, all this. I'm too busy hunting to take time to look back and go like, oh man, I need to stare at all that stuff every day. Like, I'm mounting some of it just because my son he loves it. So
yeah. it's I'm okay with like a good little vanity wall. Like I think there's something to be said about that. Like if you've done some cool shit, show it. I like to see it. It tells a story.
Yeah.
And in here we tried to do some of that, with the show as it pertains to the show, but not so much personal effects, but it is nice to kind of reflect that there's a time for that. It's
misunderstood. Like people look at that stuff and they go like, oh, that's why you're doing it. Or, oh, you spent that money and that head is worth that. No, like you walk in, if I've actually got 6 sheep in my kitchen right now, but like you look at those and it takes you back to that hunt. Like you remember being on that experience. That's what they are. They're a physical representation of a great adventure. I mean, it's no different than a photo when you're standing on top of Everest. That sheep mount is me going on that stone sheep mount. That's what it is. They're absolutely worthless. And in fact, they all end up in the dump anyways when you're dead. And I've told my wife too, like when I'm gone, you can throw them all away. Like those are for me. Because I want to look in there, I want to walk in and I look at that stuff and I go like, oh man, that takes me right back to that hunt and to the again, you don't know the sweet unless you taste the bitter. Like you go back and you're like, oh man, that was a lot of work, that was hard, the weather sucked, or I was with great guys, or I remember like it's just those are they're just memories, which is same with photos.
What's the hardest thing to hunt in North America, in your opinion? I'm curious.
I would like it. There's some animals that are really, really tough, just by like not many of them by nature. I would say really big mule deer, which I'm not that into, really big elk, but like definitely physically the hardest would be sheep and mountain goats.
Yeah.
I mean, you end up like I went on a mountain goat hunt this fall where we spent about 6 hours in some shit that I never want to be in again in my life. Like I at one point in time we were coming out packing, my buddy Jason Winneman killed a goat and we dropped into some shit we shouldn't have been in, crampons, the whole 9 yards. And at one point in time coming out of there, I did not look down for an hour and a half. And it was scary, scary shit, nothing to grab onto, as steep as you can possibly be in. And if you take a fall on something like that, you're dead. Like we had a rope, but there's no sense being roped off to somebody else. That just means you're both going to die.
Yeah.
And so you just, you pick your way out of there. But scary, scary shit. So stuff that I don't like going in. Like you can climb into stuff you shouldn't be in.
Yeah. Are we getting to the age where we're a little too old to be going on some of that stuff, or no? Are we okay?
I'm running this thing out till the end.
Fucking to the end. Till the wheels fall off.
No, I mean,
just going.
Yep. I'm not getting. I love the harder, the more like. I think I'm actually getting better at it now because I really don't care if I get one. Like you go through progressions, especially in hunting, where you're like you got to get one, and there's a lot of pressure to it and all that stuff. And I'm all past that now. Like I just love to go. I don't, the end result. Like going is the result. Like I love the adventure of it more and more.
Are you happy that so many people have found their way to the outdoors because of COVID?
Yeah, I mean it's mixed. There's a lot of people. Like 20 years ago, like I go to hunting spots that I never saw a person before, and there's 3 trucks parked there. That pisses you off. And there's so much more information available. Like, I guess the irritating thing is that like I'm glad about it. I'm glad that people have found like it's the great. Like I always consider. I think hunting is the greatest lifestyle you could ever have because it's something you can do your entire life. I mean, like I was a college wrestler. When you're done, I wrestled for 20 years. When you're done with wrestling, it's not like you just go intramural wrestle. Right. It's over. Like you're done. Hunting, you can do it until you're 100.
Unless you're Alan Bolin and then you discover jiu-jitsu.
Yeah. Then you just go to jiu-jitsu.
At 50 to get beat up again. That's the way to go. Sorry, Alan.
But you know what I mean? Like so a lot of people have discovered it. It's a lot easier now. Like there's mapping programs and all there's no secrets anymore, which kind of sucks. Like I spent years and years and years discovering these places, driving all over, putting boot tracks all over, trying to figure these places out. And now you can sit on your computer and scout all day long and the stuff that you could never do before. So I don't know if I'm just like an old curmudgeon now and just it pisses me off that I had to work so hard to figure it out. Now it's a lot easier, but the meat thing is great. The meat movement or whatever, that's great that people discovered that. But like, the thing I would say about that is like, we're not the first generation. I mean, like the generations before us, like they didn't buy beef. That's all they did is eat meat. Okay. They hunted and consumed the meat. Like it's one of those things. It's like where the awareness part is like, people are always something like, oh, well, I eat the meat. It's like, yeah, you legally have to take the meat. Like that is not something that's new. like if you hunt, you have to eat it. Aside from some predators and stuff like that, you have to eat it. It's legally like that. You shouldn't get a medal for that. Like everybody's, they want to do TV shows about hey, just want to let you know I'm eating. Like, yeah, you eat what you consume. Like you're a hunter. That's like thousands and thousands of years. That's what you do.
Right. It's an interesting, fun subculture that's kind of a part of the gun industry, not really a part of the gun industry. I would call it more part of the conservation industry, and that's what I see when I walk around SCI. And when I get to walk around with you, I get to be a fly on the wall and see some of the things that I don't normally get to see at the tactical shows or SHOT Show and stuff like that. And I feel like SCI does a good job representing the guides, the different things available in the hunting community, and taking the time. What I like about SCI is you could see every booth is outfitted with a table, and people want to sit down and they want to walk you through it. It's a lot more welcoming in so many ways. There's less posturing, and the traffic is a little bit less, and you can tell the guys there take it seriously for the most part. There's a lot of good guys you're always introducing me to in that community that I feel want to see that community grow and want to see that community flourish. But it's a hard one because, like you said, it's a very expensive sport, and there are barriers of entry, and you have to understand the legality, the laws, everything that's involved. Like you said, you don't want to overhunt an area. There's a lot of people out there just kind of pussy popping and trying to be somebody. So there's a lot of, I always call them actors, Brenden. I always say there's good actors and bad actors and everything. And there's some people that come along that, they're just trying it. And there's nothing wrong with that, and they're expanding the community. I think as more technology comes in, that's not a bad thing. It's harder for guys like you and I to adapt. Like I go to some companies and I'll tell them I have a podcast, and they don't realize that it's this. The production value is this. And you have the meeting and you're talking, and they're kind of like, okay, like that's cute, like move along. And you're like, okay, but some people are going to get it and some people aren't. And I understand where you're coming from when you say, you did it the hard way. You've laid the groundwork, and that's not always easy for people to understand. And they come into it later and they take advantage of technology or whatever's out there. They don't have the dirt under their fingernails, so to speak, to have the time in. And I think that's a rite of passage for everybody, and it's going to take some time. But I think these industries have a way of filtering out some of the bad actors, if you will.
It does. And it's like, again,
they last like 3 years. Yeah.
And I mean, now, there is tons. I mean, there's a lot of great dudes. There really is a lot of people that are the real deal. But, hunting, I'm sure tactical, all that stuff. Like if there was a Stolen Valor Act in hunting, there'd be a lot of dudes in jail.
Oh my God.
There's a lot of people pretending stuff that they've never actually done. And which I'm sure in your space is the same way. It's just loaded with people that are like bad actors and pretend like you can take a 3-second clip of your day and make it look like you're the baddest dude on the planet, but you're not really doing, and I think that stuff's going to sort itself out. I mean, the guys that know, like there's a bunch of, old school, and not even old school. Like there's some the real deal guys know. It's funny, even though they can't say anything, like some of the dudes that are in the mix, like, they have a conversation and they know.
The hard thing is Burnsy, in our industry, it's not so much a barrier of entry that's financial. It's you get people that don't fully understand what we're trying to do here and what's trying to happen. Like this show, it's just trying to get people in front of a gun wall to have a conversation and to relax and to talk about things. And like I've always said about like Black Rifle Coffee, it's a coffee company. Hunting, if you want to come into it and you want to approach it the right way, learn and be a part of the process is what I always say. Start with the process. Go out with someone. Doesn't matter if it's a deer, doesn't matter if it's a coyote, doesn't matter what it is you're hunting. It's not a bad, like if you don't have the money, you don't need to go out and be hunting moose every weekend and choppering them out. It's just a matter of, do you genuinely take the craft seriously? And I think that's what we look for on the tactical side too.
It's not something that's super expensive. I mean, you can go get set up and go, and like, it's not a crazy expensive sport. And yeah, I think a lot of people get into it for the right reasons. It's, you're out there, you get out in the, again, the great outdoors. You get to go out, do so, like, but you're not going to see the results that, like, if you're doing it because you want to post stuff on Instagram, or you start and you immediately want to become an expert, or like, hey, I'm going to show you my path and my journey. Like there's some of that, which is fine, but ultimately it's like, man, like nobody's really watching. Like just go have a good time with it, and nobody's keeping score. Like go actually learn.
Take the tags off your tent.
Yeah, go learn some stuff. Go pick your brain. I mean, I always tell guys, like, because I actually help a lot of people. Like I book a lot of hunts. I get lots of people that write me that want to, hey, what would I do this? I'm just getting started. It's not like, hey man, if you're not an expert or where, no, it's, I always just tell like, do not take advice from somebody that hasn't done it. Like don't, like there's so much
put some mileage on your car.
There's so much bad information out there. Like it's not me. It's just get a hold of somebody that has actually done it and take their advice. Like that's the, if you're going to start hunting, like go find like, there's a local guy, there's somebody on your neighborhood that's a pretty good hunter. Like go down and talk to him,
My issue with the industries, and I want to get into this with you, my issue with them, whether it's the NSSF, the NRA, or some of these orgs, or some of the parents that we have in this industry, so to speak, is there's a huge disconnect, in my opinion, between generations. You have our generation that's now coming up and rising into spokesmanship or favor, or people are starting to listen to what we have to say, like any generation that comes after the one that's in leadership. Is there such a disconnect with the 55, 65, 60-year-olds? Like everything is even beyond you. And I know you're old school, but it's like you mention anything to them. And like we said, the lost art of sending a card like Jason used to. It's just all that stuff. A lot of those orgs have become like these inbred kind of communities where everybody's cousin works. And you wonder if like anything's actually even getting accomplished, right? And I think that's the disconnect. You say things to them, or you bring up initiatives or things you want to do, and it's like, I just want to get through next year because little Susie has like one more year of college. And that's part of the struggle right now. But we see that in politics, like Nancy doesn't want to leave, Chuck Schumer, like these people just don't want to go, and they're going to stay there forever. And that's part of the issue. And I think in this series of shows, I think we witness some of that shift. And I think they see it because nobody's listening to them anymore. Everybody's kind of like, okay, cool. Like whatever. What do you actually do?
That's why I started my conservation thing. That's why I did it. Is just I got tired of like, and again, people like they don't even believe you when you tell them like, hey man, have you looked into that? That's a lot of bullshit. Like I just thought, you know what? I don't even need that. I'll just do my own thing. Like, and people want to see, they want to see action, and you don't even like because again, it's hard to tell somebody when they've been fooled.
That's why I started. That's part of the reason why I started this. It was just I got to the point. I was stunned. I told you the story. I was stunned when I had Dana on that not one org reached out to me for even a picture. I was floored by that. I was like, oh my God, like, are we that bad? But we keep recycling people in our industries. You get the same 4 people that are like the spokespeople or this person speaking, and it's very lame. Like it just becomes dull, and it dulls an industry. So what I'd like to see is like these industries get plumped up by having more guys like you, having people at the forefront that want to have the conversations. And I'd like to see more roundtables. I'd like to see more discussions. I think that would be good stuff, like breakout sessions, different things on the floor, have people talking. That's an element that hasn't come into either of these businesses yet. Because a lot of people don't want to get on stage with other people because there's a lot of posturing and ego and everything else. And you get into these conversations, but you sit up there with a guy like you can't bullshit him. And that's part of what it is there's some people that just want to put the feather suit on and play make-believe. And then you get a lot of that. And you see it in the tactical community too. There's a lot of people that they're instructors.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I think if we sat down and went like, which we won't do name for name. Like there's somebody paralleled in hunting, in tactical and everything. And it's just like, oh, this guy's a clown, or that guy's the real deal. And nobody knows. Part of it is, which is irritating with some of that stuff, is that there are guys that are the absolute real deal that are like everything that everybody else is pretending to be. And they don't get the traction. They don't get the support because it's so easy to be fake.
Yeah.
It's like people can't decipher like, oh, that dude is the real deal. Because there's 10 other, whether it's shows or podcasts or whatever. I mean, like, yeah, it's
there's 100 avenues now.
Yeah.
And I think TikTok, obviously there's a lot of different spaces that can sensationalize a moment. I have a TikTok. Yeah. We have a TikTok for the show. Go check it out. Yeah.
I literally don't even know what TikTok is.
We just put the clips on it.
Okay.
The clips just live on it. Don't judge me. We have people that do that. But I do think that there are avenues to use those things, but I just wanted a show. And for me, it was just more, I spent a lot of time talking on the phone with some cool people, you included in that. And I just was like, I should definitely broadcast these. These are fucking great conversations. And that's kind of what really triggered it in the beginning. And then it led to, you know, from my kitchen to the car to a house to here.
What you've built here is this is awesome. I mean, this is.
We'll see.
The photos or the videos don't do it justice. This place is pretty impressive.
It wouldn't be here without you, that's for sure.
No,
you're one of the guys. It's huge, and look, building up any type of platform, and that's what you did. Building up any type of platform and doing what you did, and having the ability to step out and do it without social media says a lot about your ego and how in check it is, and how you are secure in yourself, and your sense of self is good. I've seen you at places, parties, rooms people would die to be in, and you're like, I'm cool, I'm out of here, you know, I gotta go. You just have a disposition about you that's you're gonna do what's best for you, and you're gonna do what's best for your situation, and you don't unapologetic about it.
Yeah, I mean, you know, at some point in time in your life, you quit taking applications for friends, and you realize that you're kind of who you're gonna be, and man, and you're comfortable with that. And, you know, like, again, you meet great people and you add them in, and you meet people you don't like and you don't add them in. And you see, you know, kind of the scramble around. Like, I mean, at the last show, it was funny to watch when, you know, people posturing around. I was like, yeah, you know what, man, like, it's like, you know who the real people are. And that's the fun part too. And you meet some genuine, really good people, and you can take a step back and just be yourself. Cause I honestly, like, I'm just not that good at that. Like, it sounds exhausting.
It's tiring.
It sounds exhausting to not be yourself.
Exactly. Now, Andy said he's judging, and I just want to say, Andy, listen, you know, you could judge all you want. You got good meat.
The guy can. We're
gonna let it slide. You got good meat.
The guy can cook a leg.
The guy can cook a leg. I was so nervous when he did the flip flop with us because the amount of rosemary involved scared me. It's a lot of rosemary. So if you haven't done a flip-flop, Andy is in the chat. Go check him out, guys. Go get one of those legs. I don't know what they cost. It's expensive, but if you can ever get him out to do the whole deal, it's quite the experience. I thought we were going to do one at the hotel. I got excited for a minute. I thought that was going to happen.
It would have been nice because I had, not to bash on SCI, but the two dinners we had, the boiled chicken and something else for
the rubber chicken dinner.
We should have definitely had something else.
I know. We should have done one that night. What stopped us, Andy? Was it just I think it was the fridge, right? He wanted to refrigerate the stuff.
I think it was the 30th floor, no balcony.
Oh.
Yeah. I'm pretty sure that's illegal.
We could have went out back.
Yeah, could have.
Not an open flame though, right?
You don't see a lot of barbecues in hotels.
We would have been the first though.
Yeah.
That would have been amazing.
Yeah.
Yeah. If you haven't done a flip-flop, guys, go do one. That's Andy in the chat causing a stir. So go do one, go sign up, go do a nice axis leg or something. It's amazing though. Yeah. It is quite the process. We're going to have him back out here for the UFC event that we're doing. And we're going to have him do 2 legs, which will be interesting.
At the same time?
I don't know if he does them at the same time, does he?
I'm sure he can.
Insane.
Talent.
Insane. Yeah. It's amazing what he does. And the communal feeling of it is really interesting. I thought Bo was bullshitting me when we ended up doing it. I was like, thoroughly impressed. So Andy, you can judge. We'll allow it. We appreciate you. Now, when you're cooking any of the game or you take any of it back, like you said, and that's hunting, do you go as deep into the preparation of how you make the meals, or do you just not give a shit? Like, are you making venison chilies? Like, what do you get?
Oh yeah. I mean, everything gets eaten. I think the one thing about hunting that people don't understand is like, everything gets eaten one way or the other. Like again, you don't eat predators like the giant bear. I've had some people say to me like,
I've heard bear's okay if it's made properly.
It's not that great. It's okay, but it depends on what they're eating. But here's the thing about the meat thing. Nothing goes to waste. Okay. Like, people don't understand, like, you either believe in the system or you don't. And this is where it gets harsh because people, like, they pretend that they eat all the bear, like the giant brown bear I shot. We did not eat that thing. They're inedible. But here's what you don't understand is that after we killed that thing, the next 2.5 days, a sow with 3 cubs completely ate that bear. Okay. So you got to understand, like, nothing goes to waste, like, and nothing at all. Like, people, like, you know, you drive by and there's a deer hit on the side of the road. Like, that thing's not going to go to waste. Okay. That's the natural order. And it's not that pretty. I mean, people don't want to know that it's like, it's not beautiful. Like that 20-year-old bear that I killed, like, he was probably going to die in the wintertime and another bear's going to eat him. Like, you either believe in the system or you don't. And as far as the meat goes, like, stuff we eat, I love sheep. I love, like, everything that I kill gets eaten. And again, if it's a big bear, it gets eaten by another bear. If it's deer, elk, it's like game animal, then we take it home, eat it. I donate to friends. I donate to friends and family and people that want it. Like, I mean, thousands of pounds of meat a year. I obviously I kill more than I can possibly eat. But I have some, we eat wild game all the time. Love it. Again, it's super healthy for you, but I don't even like to talk about the meat that much anymore because it's so overused right now. Like people are like, the only reason I hunt is because of that. Like, no, I absolutely love to hunt because I love to hunt.
I'm just curious, what's the grossest one you've tried? I've never asked you that.
There's times when you get a super old animal that's just not great, and you just figure out what to do with it. Whether it's you can grind anything up and eat it, but some stuff's not.
You can grind anything.
You can grind anything in a burger. Like if you had bacon, beef fat, and grind it up, like you can turn anything into.
What's like the biggest stretch one for you though? Like you like.
I just don't like bears. I don't like to eat bears. And like I said, it's just one of those things where it's been so propped up and kind of faked by people like, oh, I love to eat bear, this and that. Like, no, they're not. They're not eating bear. Like they're gross. They eat, but they have to be managed. I mean, you have to understand that like every bear that you kill, like especially those great big bears, they're killing 3 to 10 undulates in 2 or 3 months in the wintertime. You don't know what you're saving. And it's like, I'm not playing God. I'm just saying like, that's just how it is. Like so you win some, you lose some, but
right. Right. Andy said no open fires at the hotel. So that was the reason.
Yeah.
So no open fires. We couldn't do the flip flop. No open fires. Yeah. Now, little social commentary. It's crazy out there. What are we going to do?
I don't know, man. It's a crazy time. I was just talking to my buddy Greg Moeckel this morning, and he lives in Canada. One of the hardest hunting dudes on the planet, like one of the most accomplished hunters, and he was just telling me about the Canadian stuff going on right now. Like the truckers are all driving to Ontario. They're going to go lock the place down. Like the stuff that they're going through in Canada is like you would swear it was like the Soviet Union 40 years ago, like West Germany. Like it's just crazy. Like what's going on.
We got to talk about the Biden thing for a second. It's crazy. It's gotten crazy. It's at the point where even I've said this before, and you heard my theory. I said the networks will turn on him because the story of him is too good. It's too rich. And he's walking around and he doesn't even know where he's going, what he's doing, what he's saying. It's a scary time. I mean, just in general, guys, this isn't like mind-blowing political commentary here. This is just, it's a scary time, and we don't know how it's all going to shake out, whether it's conservation, the interior, domestically, anything that we're dealing with. It's a really scary time. We get a lot of people on the gun issue going back and forth. Do we go to constitutional carry, which I'm trying to explain to lawmakers. Constitutional carry is not necessarily the best thing either, guys, because what does constitutional carry even fucking mean? I'm trying to ask people that, and they say, well, the Constitution, does it say you can conceal carry? So you want to give up the permit? I'd rather have national reciprocity. Yeah. Because if we give up the permit, how easy is it to revoke constitutional carry? It becomes a lot easier at that point. So I tell people all the time, be careful.
I mean, I look at what's going on in New Zealand and Australia right now.
Same.
That shit is scary. I'm talking nice people that are nonviolent, would never even own a gun, are like, man, this is totally fucked. I mean, they're locked down. I mean, it is insane what's going on down there. And even some of the stuff in Canada, like, we got it pretty good, but we got to protect it.
Mm-hmm. It's a terrifying time. I've quit watching the news. Like I actually watched Biden's press conference last week. I think on Wednesday or Thursday, I was driving. I had a 4-hour drive. I have not watched Fox News, CNN, and like I just quit because it just bums me out. And I listened to the whole press conference the other day, and it was like, and I'm not tied in politically. I wasn't even up on. It's just scary
issues when he's like, you can have a little bit of an infraction, but not like it's like whoa. I didn't even know what was going on. I was like, you just said they could kind of get aggressive, like, it's a scary time. Like this is.
It's scary. It's terrifying. I don't know how it plays out, but I know you and I have discussed it a little bit offline, and just we look around and we see these communities that we've built obviously get flooded with new folks, which is great, and see people come into the industries, which is fun. But at the same time, they're scared and they're looking for answers. They're trying to figure it out. They're worried about where their food's going to come from. Inflation's a real thing. I mean, you're involved in conservation. The cost of a gallon of milk is going to be through the roof, and orange juice is insane. I mean, just to buy orange juice, have you been in a pharmacy section of any fucking drugstore? You can't buy Advil.
I'm married, John. You know I don't go to the pharmacy.
But it's terrifying out there, and you know, just to buy cold medicine or anything, there's nothing. So it's a scary time right now, and I don't know if they're going to get these supply chain issues worked out. We don't know how it plays out, but now we have the Supreme Court issue, which is obviously going to heat things up. We got a guy stepping down. Obviously, they're going to get their nominee, and they're going to, you know, he's not pulling a Ginsburg, which isn't a derogatory term. I think that's going to become a thing, like you doing a Ginsburg. You know, he's going to step down, and they're going to replace him. But it's going to be very interesting, and I think we got a lame duck president now. Yeah. And I don't know what's going to happen. I think the midterms are going to be really interesting. But people don't understand, and you've been close to the MAGA thing. It's not necessarily about MAGA. It's more about looking at the space and understanding that people just want common sense. And the candidate that steps up and just says, hey, no more masks, no more this, I think they're going to win the day pretty handily and pretty easily. But we need people to stand up and stop succumbing to all this pressure of like, you got to wear a mask here, you don't wear a mask there, you have to take a shot here, you don't need a shot to go there, you need to have a card, you don't have to have a card. It's all insane. It all violates HIPAA, it all violates Nuremberg, it all violates everything that we've stood for the last 30 years, and they just want to wash it all away and hide it under racism or placism or whatever you want to call it, which makes
the greater good.
What's the greater good? The greater good becomes the argument. And it's very tough, and it's hard for us to all reconcile, and we're sitting back saying, what is going on? What is going on? And it's very difficult. Now you're up in Montana, so you get a little sequestered from it in some ways, but you still got to deal with it when you travel.
No, because we got everybody moving there that is fleeing San Francisco and California, and it's totally changed where we live too, because the price of housing is through the roof because everybody wants to move there and buy stuff with cash, and they don't know the value of anything, and they've just risen the price on anything. And when COVID hit, I'll tell you, there was a funny time being a hunter. Like I can't tell you the number of people that called me like when the meat shortage or like the shelves were bare right after you could only go to the grocery store certain times. Like I had 1,000 pounds of burger in 4 different freezers, and like, yeah, come on over and get some. Like, yeah, like, and I was like, a pretty interesting time when you can't feed yourself. Like, it's been a week, people. You can't feed yourself. Like, you don't have the skills that if something broke down, you can't feed yourself. And the same deal. They're scared. Number of people that are buying firearms, like
insane.
It's crazy.
It's through the roof.
People you don't even that normally wouldn't go like, I need a pistol. I get it all the time. People are like, oh, and I'm no expert in the, in the concealed carry space or whatever. Like, oh, people are like, oh, you carry? Like, oh, what do you got? Like, I'm like, you got to be able to protect yourself too. Like, these are basic skills that you need to possess. Can you feed yourself? Can you protect your family? A
lot of that came into question this go around.
I've never been super involved in anything, like all of a sudden we're on school board calls about, and they're making, our 9-year-old wear a freaking mask at times and at not times when they sit down and stand. Like, it makes no sense whatsoever. You're trying to make somebody feel better. Like, leave them alone.
It's scary. It's real. The school board thing's terrifying.
It is.
What's going on at the school board level. And, I look at it like this, and I'll say I see it as they're running a model on us. And this model there's holes in this model. They're realizing they can't go after law enforcement. They can't go after military and still say, we're going to take your guns, or we're going to take your land, or we're going to do this. So I think they're running a model on us. And I believe this is all tied into how they can influence the media, because the media is dying. And I wanted to run this by you, Burnsy. You look at, like you said, you don't watch the news. You look at like Fox News, like Tucker Carlson, and you look at what's her face over at MSNBC. Who's the chick there with the hairdo, whatever her name is at MSNBC. Somebody will know it in here. Say it in the chat. I always forget her name. But their contracts are going up. And oddly enough, you have Rogan at the top as like one of the most viewed.
For sure.
And then you have Tucker, and you have whatever her face is at MSNBC.
Met Tucker last week, by the way. Like, super nice cool guy. Super cool guy.
I missed him.
Intelligent dude.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Exactly like he is on TV.
Yeah, I see. It seems that way. Now, it's scary because if Tucker walked, and if this other woman at MSNBC whose contract's up, whatever her name is, it's Rachel Maddow. People are saying it now. Thanks, Pickles. Rachel Maddow. If she walked...
Oh, I thought you meant somebody in the news. I could have picked that one, but that's not the news.
Whatever the fuck she is. Yeah. Rachel Maddow. But the two of them are like 2 and 3 under Rogan. Now, if they walked and started their own platform, what I'm getting at is how do these news networks even make money at this point? I don't even know how they, like, I wonder who's behind like how they even pay those people, because who's buying ads? The MyPillow guy?
I guess.
It's crazy.
I just like mid COVID, I had to just quit watching the news, quit talking. It was depressing, you know, like things were getting crazy, and it's just like I had to just quit. And that's probably not the best way to go about it, but I was like, you know, kids are healthy, wife's good, life's good in Montana. Like I just had to quit. Like it was just depressing every single day.
Does cable survive?
No. People want to. I don't think so.
Do movie theaters survive?
Man, I don't know how movie theaters survive. People, I don't know. I have kids. Movie theaters are dead to me.
Yeah.
Once you have kids, like there's no such thing as going to the movie.
But now
theater.
that it's so easy to get it at home, you know, to have like one streaming, like have Hulu or something, and it's all you need.
That experience is not that amazing.
It's not.
No.
I feel like it has to be revamped. And that leads me to the other thing I'm passionate about is just the experience in general. And you talked about this with hunting. It's hard to take, whether it's the tactical industry or anything in the sports or conservation, and monetize it through media or collateralize it through media, which has always been a struggle of the hunting community to tell that story and to put that together. But the industry's learning, and they're starting to understand production value, and they're starting to understand how to piece all these things together. And we see different groups coming together now to try to figure that out and start to harness that. But as they do, I think it's going to evolve our interpretation of these things, because the way we always digested hunting or fishing was either Jimmy Houston Outdoors or some show that was like a guy in a bush for 3 hours. But that's changing, and it's starting to evolve a little bit. And that's what's making the industries exciting, is that key word we talked about is experience and how to capture that experience. And I think you're a forerunner in that. And I think what you do with KUIU and through the conservation stuff is really a thought leader in that space, and creating that narrative of true conservation and being able to tell that story and show what that means to people. Nobody's really done that. I haven't seen it.
No, it's definitely new in our industry, and it's shaking some stuff up. I've definitely created some industry. I mean, there's some enemies. There's definitely a couple orgs that they do not like. They feel like I'm
impinging.
Well, I actually had a guy call me a couple weeks ago that's on the board of one of them, and he's just like, you're not doing it for the overall goal of like we should team up. And this is somebody that I tried to do a project with him, and it was just like too much bullshit going on. I was just like, I'm just going to do my own projects. And now they've come back to me, and I'm like, no, I'm not interested in working with you. I don't want to. And I feel like it's going to change some things. I mean, I think people, again, the beauty of transparency is, good or bad.
Mm-hmm.
Look at with anything, and no matter what you're doing, follow the money. Ask where it's going. Figure out, what's the reason somebody's telling you something.
To me, they're easy questions to ask, Burnsy, and I ask them and I get in trouble. To me, they're easy. Like, it's easy to say, like when we had the ammo shortage, one of the things I got deep into, I tried explaining it to everybody, but then you get chuckleheads that go out there and they try to say, oh no, it's hunters. And I wanted to talk to you about this because hunters tried to get blamed by a certain Corleone Noir for the ammo shortage. And I thought that was absolutely fucking preposterous when they toured the Nosler facility. They tried to say, oh yeah, hunters really raided our stash of ammo. I mean, do people really think we're going to believe that?
I don't. I mean, like that. You're diving into stuff that I'm not like educated on, but
insane.
I mean, ultimately, you can't be afraid to piss people off. If you're right, you're right.
I just think even asking the question is insane. Like, oh yeah, we had to run on ammo and we're short. Maybe it had something to do with a purchase. I don't know, but I just think that people try to sensationalize a topic without really knowing what's going on the inside. And when you do, it becomes a lot clearer. Like you said, asking the right questions. Where does the money go? Who is funding this? who's running this project? And these are all common sense questions that have been asked in other industries for a long time. Now that we see podcasts having a rise in power and people are going more to video, the questions are being asked and a lot of the orgs don't like it. They're like, oh, what do you mean? Well, why do you have 47 employees working in, the fucking rubber chicken committee? You know what I mean? Yeah,
and I mean, like I said, I'm not here to blow anybody up or smash anybody. Like, look up, get online and go look at, like, if it's a 501c3 or something, go look at their 909. See what those guys are making.
Good advice.
What they're spending on. That's how I started doing. I started going like, man, where's this money going? You can type it in, go right in there. It's all online. You can look like, where does that money come from? Where's it going? Who's making what? And again, I'm a free trade guy. I'm not telling anybody what they can or can't make, but there's a difference. Like, when you're asking for money, there's a certain amount you should be making. Like, it should not be, like some of these organizations are basically like mega churches.
Yes.
Which is a weird thing. Like,
with Joel Osteen out in front.
Churches are great. Mega churches, it's a lot of money being made in the name of God.
Ooh,
but
a lot of Ferraris.
A lot of crazy
Jesus
stuff.
Jesus drives
going
a Ferrari.
On. Yeah. A lot of crazy stuff going on. Like, is it really the mission? Like, are you, and that's, go look it up, because a lot of times you're going to see something you don't want to see. And again, you get back to, like, again, it's way easier to fool people than to convince them they've been fooled, because ultimately they don't want to know.
No. Now, I want you to real quick give people advice on, let's say somebody's listening, they want to get into hunting. Seriously, dumb it down. I know it's hard for you. Somebody wants to get into hunting. They're fresh. They're brand new. They might be listening right now. Where should they start?
Find somebody that hunts. Like, most people that hunt, they're happy to share some knowledge and go out. Like, it's almost what you see on videos, TV, all that stuff is not real. Like, you're gonna go down to Fish and Game, figure out what you can hunt. Go, the gun range is a great place to go out and become proficient with your weapon, and find a mentor. It doesn't have to be the best mentor in the world. Like, go find someone that's done it, and they're generally good to help. It's never been easier to become a hunter than right now. There is a pile of incredible information out there available to everybody. There's a ton of shitty information too, but most of it's done and it's pretty good. And when it comes, like, there's never been a better time to buy a bow, buy a firearm, become proficient at that stuff. Learn. I mean, like, you can figure out how to do everything. Being self-taught, this is the best time you could ever be, that has ever been, to be self-taught, because you can figure it out. You can sort it through. But, like, finding a mentor is really the way to go.
And what are some of the best states to start out in?
Every state has hunting. Like, it depends on what you want to do. I mean, you could be duck hunting in California. You can be deer in Nevada. I mean, like, it depends on what your state has. But ultimately, it's about getting out there and taking advantage of the natural resources and that your state has to offer. I mean, obviously, I would say 95% of people hunt locally. You'd think everybody is traveling. That's not the case. I mean, most people hunt locally, and it's a lot of fun. I mean, it's a ton of fun. And you pick up some skill sets. I mean, you can really awaken, like, the sneaky part of you, there's genetics inside of you that will teach you how to do it. You don't have to, you're not starting at scratch.
No, I don't think that most people here might feel they're starting at scratch, but just like you said, it's a matter. I always say the same thing about the gun range. Find, like, the local pro, start with a guy. Like, I would say in hunting, find a guy that goes out a lot.
Yeah.
Find someone. It doesn't matter what they hunt. Just find someone who goes out a lot, because chances are they'll have a good spot.
Yeah, go to the bow shop, meet some people. Yeah,
they'll be able to take you through a good experience. It doesn't matter if it's coyotes or fucking muskrats, whatever it is. But then you'll learn. And as long as they're going out a lot, you can tag along or you can go along. And sometimes hunting the smaller stuff in the beginning, like, I started out with hogs and stuff like that. And I've been on a shitload of hog hunts. I enjoy that. I enjoy hunting them with dogs. It's fun. I've done it a freaking half dozen times. It's enjoyable for me. I don't necessarily like always going out with a gun, but I think hog hunts are fun. Go out in four-wheelers, have a good time with the guys. And it's something that you don't need 97 permits for. You could do it on a lot of different land. You don't have to go crazy. So it's less invasive than people think it can be to get into. I believe that 100%.
There's a pile of opportunity out there.
Piles. Now, where are you next and what's new? What's coming up next?
My next hunt, I'm actually leaving next Tuesday, going to try and finish my Grand Slam with a bow. I'm going to Carmen Island in Mexico to hunt desert sheep with my bow.
No shit.
Yeah, and then I'm going to Turkey at the end of the month to hunt Bezor ibex. So it's going to be a real struggle.
Turkey's all fucked up right now. You might get stuck there.
Yeah, it could be. It's we'll see how, I mean, that's the cool
clandestine hunter.
Yeah, fly to Istanbul, but yeah, desert sheep is next, and then brown bear this spring, and always got something planned. We got a lot of cool stuff in the works, and yeah,
it's George Soros country. You're in trouble.
Yeah,
you're in trouble. They're gonna find you. They're gonna shut you down. They're gonna shut down the social media you don't have.
Yeah, they can't really block me.
They can't block you. You can't be stopped.
I went off the grid a long time ago and still have not come back.
I'm going off grid.
Yeah,
I love that line.
Yeah,
it's famous. Well, listen, I love that you came in.
Dude, thanks for having me down. Sorry it took so damn long.
Bro, we've already gone for an hour and 20 minutes. It's crazy.
Crazy.
I could go for another 9 hours. Yeah. Oh, 100%. Thank you.
Yeah, dude.
It means the world.
Yeah. This place is awesome, man. What you built is pretty damn impressive.
I hope the industry thinks so. Hopefully it gets to a good place and, we can make something into it. It can be a platform for us. That's the hope.
I got some serious shop envy here. Like my trophy room /shop/gun room is,
we'll get you a warehouse.
I got some more ideas from all this stuff.
We can build like a barn on your property and do something like this up there. I'd come up for a week and wire the whole thing. I'd love it. You could pay me in cheeseburgers. I'd work free.
Do the podcast that nobody ever hears. Just record it and never even record it.
That's a great name.
Not even have chords on it. You just sit down and talk.
That's a great name. The podcast nobody ever hears. That is fucking great. We got to do that. That's got to be done. You should do one. This is screaming for 20 minutes. Rants. Deadly rants. Now, everybody's sharing the links in the chat. Let everybody know how they can support all the stuff you're doing and where they can follow along.
Obviously, you can go to KUIU.com and check out. It's called Conservation Direct. That's the single base project stuff we're doing. But ultimately, like when it comes to conservation stuff, I'm not looking for anybody's money. We're not trying to raise, I don't want to raise any money, but I would say, find something locally that you can put some money or some volunteer something to and see where it goes. Like, go down to Fish and Game and see if they need any help with building a guzzler or, ultimately I'm a big fan of micromanaging conservation. Like do something locally. Like, I mean, it's such a weird thing to say, hey man, let's save the planet. Shit, man.
Let's save the neighborhood.
Yeah. Go pick up some garbage in your neighborhood. Like start small, like it's that stuff.
I like
that stuff's so impossible to do. Like, that's again with the Conservation Direct stuff. It's like, hey, let's save sheep in the West. Like, man, I'm just trying to save a few herds, trying to introduce a few more herds. We're going to do a few things here and there and get them finished. And ultimately that footprint's going to grow based on like real results.
Now, Eric shared your link for the bear hunt. You got to go check that out, guys. If you haven't clicked that link, go click that link. That bear hunt is ferocious. It's amazing. Go check it out. Just go check it out. Once you watch that, you're going to see the kind of guy Burns he is and the stuff that he's done. I mean, that bear is a killer takedown. It's just fucking insane. The size of it is terrifying, and he's in like a bush. It's nuts. You got to look at it. But thank you again for coming in. I really appreciate it. It means the world. Awesome. Yeah, no, it means the world. And listen, everybody out there, go support this man. Go check out the Ram Hustle if you want to see nothing. He has a page. Go look at it. It's the largest followed page without a single post. I'm going to make that statement now. It might not be authentic, but there's 0 posts there, and you're up to X amount of how many thousand followers?
It's like 5,200 or
it's
something.
It's like 5,200. It's insane. If you just go look at the page, it'll make you laugh, but it's not how many posts you do. It's the quality of followers you have, right? So if you don't want to follow along, go check out the Ram Hustle. And I promise you,
I will not jam up your feed.
You will not jam up your feed. You will not clog your feed with one single post. I promise you that. I appreciate everyone in the chat. You guys are hilarious. There's some funny stuff going on. I can't thank you guys enough. Everybody sharing the links. I'm going to put the links down below. I want to thank the sponsors. Shout out to KUIU for giving me you on loan for an hour. Appreciate you guys. And they've always been a supporter of the show. I know I've shouted them out in the past and put the link down below. I appreciate KUIU and everybody over there. Thank you. And thank you to Secure It. Thank you to Rhino Metals. Thank you to Pulsar. Special thanks to Right On, Kenzie's Optics, and of course, Sig Sauer. Special thanks to Sig. Appreciate you guys. And pretty soon we're going to have some new stuff in here. It's going to get exciting. I know it's nice now, but it's going to be next level pretty soon. We're going to have Ballistic Advantages coming in with like some crazy punching bag. We got US Law Shield coming in here. So we got a lot of fun stuff and a few more episodes on the way. I want to thank Burnsy for coming in and appreciate it.
How about Howlerhead too?
Howlerhead, right?
He did a nice one for you there.
Fucking A. Yeah, awesome. Dana loves that shit.
Yeah.
It's Dana's booze.
Yeah, it's amazing.
Yeah, it's great stuff. I mean, listen, I can't do this without all the brands and all the support of everybody, including you. And to the audience, I don't think everybody fully understands. Burnsy's one of those guys that I've talked to when I was deep in a hole and trying to figure out what I was going to do and what the next steps were. And he was a great friend and a great mentor to me. And that doesn't go unnoticed. That's why this episode gave me particular anxiety, because it was exciting to me. And it's a lot of fun to have him on and have him see what I built. It means a lot. And it means a lot to me that you're here.
Well, dude, you've done an awesome job. This is impressive.
I'm glad I made you proud.
Yep.
Listen, thank you, everybody. Go buy some KUIU stuff. We're going to sign out.